Om Namah Shivaya. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we were reviewing the third Anuvaka, okay? And I do remember having gone through this verse, this mantra, which talked about Naktancharavbyascha. So that means the robbers at night time, the night robbers. And this is what I think we were discussing. So the Adhyatmika view is that at night time, your sense of smallness has been stolen by Rudra. Beautiful view. And so in some ways, we do not recognize the presence of Ishvara in deep sleep. How important it is. Not in the dream. Because the dream is simply a continuation of problems in daily life. And I just had a dream a couple of days ago that I had a meeting with somebody on some important. I had parked my car. This is a real dream. I saw. I think it was right here in the 2-3 days ago that I parked my car, and then I had a meeting with someone. And when I came out, the car was not there. This is in the dream. So, funny dream how the dreams are. And now I'm searching for the car, and all of a sudden I have a doubt as to what the color of the car is. And I'm now saying, where did I park it and exactly what model it is? And it's a funny thing. And I woke up and there was no car, no nothing. So the dream also is a continuation of dukkha, honestly. It is. It's just a different form of dukkha. Of course, it has a very important lesson for us. Because my feeling of losing the car, possibly, and doubting my own self, that why can't I remember this? Why can't I remember the color of the car and the make of the car? And why couldn't I remember exactly where I parked? How could I do this to myself? So I'm blaming myself, really speaking. And I'm just going round and round and saying, I think it was here. And all kinds of things. Exactly the same thing happens. And so the dream is a very realistic present by Ishvara to say, foolish person, see how false it is, even though it looks so real. You know, in some of these dreams, what is impressive is how intelligent you were in framing the question. That I can't remember the color of the car, and the keys are in my pocket, but I cannot find the parking space. How could I come up with all these kinds of things? Possibly because I was talking about my wallet and this, that, or the other, and it got transposed into a car. So, anyway, the dream also is a dukkha, really, just like, sukha dukkha mixed together, a mixture, just like this. Deep sleep, on the other hand, is a great gift by Ishvara, where the very cause of the sukha dukkha is removed from you. So there is no mind, no ahankara, nothing. And if there is, see, this is the thing, supposing there is no mind, no ahankara, nothing, and as a result of that, there is total dukkha. Just look at this. If the mind, etc., was not there, and what was left was really dukkha, will we ever go to sleep? We'll never go to sleep. Never. But the reason we go to sleep is because our personality, our beingness is completely missing. Only Brahman is, only Ishvara is there. You as a separate person is not there. And it is so pleasant. So pleasant. It's just unbelievable. And this is why we make our beds nicely. Pillow has to be right. And these days we're complaining that the beds are so narrow. We're not used to it. The mattresses are, not as firm as we would like. All kinds of things and so on. All because that is one area where I really love to be. So this is exactly the interpretation that Swami Maheshananji makes. He says, don't you see that Ishvara, Rudra, takes away your ahankara completely for a while. Our wish is that he would take it away forever. But I come back to it because I still have ajnanam, still have the ignorance of who I am. I'm still searching. And when that ajnanam goes, then the robbery will not be just at night time, it will be during the daytime, at any time. So this feeling, this interpretation of the robbery is a very positive one, you see. This is the thing. The Adhyatmika view of stealing and robbing and so on and so forth is really meant for your own good. And here Swami Maheshananji says that any time you learn from Vairagya, that is a hint that Ishvara gives that you are okay, you don't need to get anything. Swamiji says at one time, if you have lots of money, you are very lucky, wonderful. If you don't have money, you are even luckier. You are even better off. And so that example of the guy, he was just lying down on this, is a great one. Once, and I think when I experienced that when I was working for IBM long time ago, it was also a very good one. I said, there's something wrong with this picture. And of course what happens is we dismiss it. Somehow you feel that I will be happier than the other guy eventually. And so this is not the way to go. But really speaking, a person who is learned to be happy without money, without everything else, he's been all stolen away by Ishvara, is the right thing. So this whole idea about looking at thievery and dacoity and so on and so forth should be looked upon as a very positive thing from our standpoint. So that's the whole thing. Now, one thing that Swami Maheshananji points out is that in this verse, which goes to Nama Ishumadbhyo Dhanvavibhyascha, which is verse number 9 on page number 113 in Swami Dayananji's book. Okay? So, here, and this is, I think this pointing out is not obvious for us, and we have to really look at it again and again. But anyway, he makes the point that up until now, the third Anuvaka was accenting the nimitta karana of Ishvara. From this verse on, he is now talking about upadana karanam. And how that is the case, we don't have time to, even I was trying to see whether I should really pause and talk about it, but we would miss out a lot of that. And so maybe next time when we meet, we'll have to clarify it. But just put on your notes that from this one on, it is really upadana karanam, and this is sarvatmamatvam, the presence everywhere. So this is the upadana karanam. He is there, he is there, he is there. So this, if we can pause for just a minute. So this is just, I think I need to spend a couple of minutes just on this part. Very, very important. When I understood this, that made my jigsaw puzzle a lot clearer. Upadana karanam is also avyakta. Upadana karanam is avyakta. Avyakta means it is not expressed. It is not something that you see. In the case of the example of the ocean, the water is the upadana karanam for the waves. There the example is you can also see the water. You can see the waves. So both of them you can see. But in the whole universe, the upadana karanam, which is satyam jnanam anantam, okay, satyam jnanam anantam, is avyaktam. It is not visible to you. But the presence of the upadana karanam should not be missed, because it is the effect of it. You cannot have an effect without having a cause. Very much like, for example, supposing you see the leaves of a tree moving, and what do you conclude? It's a windy day, isn't it? Do you see the wind? No, you don't see the wind. But you see there cannot be a movement of the leaves without vayu. So the vayu is in that sense, is the upadana karanam for the movement of the leaves. Similarly, everything is moving. Things are alive, and through the Maya Shakti, things are happening, and they're moving, they're changing. A lot of activity is happening. Is that possible without a steady upadana karanam? This is what we have to come to the conclusion. Our problem is that we don't accept anything until it is visible. Well, listen, why do you accept vayu when you cannot see it? But you accept it because it makes sense. You have concluded there's no other way for the leaves to. Maybe there's a person sitting on the top of the tree who's moving the leaves, but there's nobody sitting on the top of the leaves. It's moving automatically. And so then you conclude that no, the trunk of the tree cannot move because it is so solid, but anything which is vulnerable moves just by a whiff of a snow, see, it must be there. So similarly, the upadana karanam that we talk about, this is the upadana karanam means he's everywhere. He's in this, it's in that. This morning's question about why are we talking about thieves and so on and so forth? Because the whole thing is only possible by the presence of the upadana karanam. This is a very significant thing. And it's the coupling of the upadana with avyakta. So what is vyakta? Vyakta means which is visible to you, is the effect of it. But the cause of that is upadana karanam, which is avyakta. And so this is the important thing. And so then the rest of it really is simply a tour of this is also upadana karanam, this is also upadana karanam, this is also, you have different ways. Sahasra Shirsha means 1,000 heads, means everything. Shatarudriyam, everything. You just count a few of them. It doesn't mean 100 or 1,000. So that's what that is. Okay, the next thing that I will talk about is the specific verse mantra number 14 on page 118. Namas swapadbhyah jagradbhyashchavo. So this is a clear reference to the fact that both in sleep as well as in the waking state, includes the dream state, in both cases, consciousness is there. Rudra is there. Is not missing. So in one case it is totally invisible, and in the other case it is partially invisible. In the waking state you only see the effect, you don't see the cause. And in the deep sleep even the effect also is missing, but the cause remains the same. So that is just the swapadbhyo jagradbhyashchavo namaha. Then another way to look at that is the next one, number 15. Namastistadbhyo dhāvadbhyashchavo namaha. So here, Tishtadbhyo means the one who doesn't move. And what doesn't move? Sakshi doesn't move. The same Sakshi. I know. There's no change to it. Tishtadbhyo, just in one place. So then you're telling me that the thing that moves is not Rudra? No. We didn't say that. All we're saying is the one that stays at one place as the very consciousness is Rudra, and the one that moves. And what is it that moves? The mind moves. So both of them are really nothing but Rudra. So supposing you have a huge pond, and then there is some wind, and so the pond normally is completely stationary. That is also water, and the waviness of the pond from the wind is also water. Both of them are water. They are two forms of the same thing. So that also is nothing but Rudra alone. So Namastistadbhyo dhāvadbhyascha namaha. And I think this is the last one, is it? Number 16? Yeah. No, Ashvebhyo, oh yeah, there are two of them. Then the comment on Sabhabhyas Sabhapatibhyascha namaha. A very interesting interpretation by Swami. And so the normal here would be in the form of assemblies and in the form of heads of assemblies. You can take that also. But here, Swami Maheshananji dissects the word sabha. Sabha means bha saha vartate iti sabha. In fact, that is the name of our in India country is Bharata. Bharata means, you know what Bharata means. So Rata means one who has reveled. It is a past tense of ram, to be involved. So Rataha means one who is full of. What? Bha. Bha means knowledge, buddhi. So Bharataha means a country which is engaged in the understanding of what the source of the whole thing is. That is the name of the country, Bharata. So here Sabha means the one who is associated with the Bha. Right? One who is associated with the Bha. And who is that person who is associated with the Bha? The Pramata. Pramata means a living jiva who knows. We are sitting in this room. I am the knower of my experience. So this is what is called Pramata. Okay? So in the Bhagavad Gita also, it is called Kshetrajnaha. In the 13th chapter, Kshetra and Kshetrajnaha. So the Kshetrajnaha is the applied form of Shiva. Applied form means it is a specific person who is borrowing the intelligence from Shiva. See, just look at this. You and I, we are moping around. Who are you? I'm Vijay Kapoor. You are not Vijay Kapoor. You are just a covering on the Shiva. You foolish bum. That's who you are. But we go around saying, this is me. This is me. And so it was exactly like the room space which says, I'm the room space. I'm the room space. By the way, one of the things that we really look at this is interesting. We'll do that some other time. We're running out of time now. The upadhi of the room. What is the upadhi of the room? Walls, right? Flooring, etc. is called the upadhi, which makes the space very specific. The upadhi is also nothing but condensed space. It is condensed space. Space has that is the original source of all material. And it's very subtle. All the subtle forces are in the space. As Einstein and others have now pointed out, that the space is not just this is exactly what Newton made the decision. Newton was saying that the space is like a stage on which things are happening. So the stage is just sitting there, it really doesn't have any personality. It is just holding things together. Then you have some play going on, some music going on, etc. Poor stage, this stage is just sitting there. That's not what we should look at space. It turns out, this is the Einsteinian view, which we already know for a long time. We may not even the precise nature of light and so on, we knew quite a bit about it. That's a very separate subject sometimes to talk about. But we already knew that Akasha, just look at this. This is very interesting to see. What Einstein said was that the space has all the powers that later on become solid. E is equal to mc square just, means that the solidity of things is nothing but a transformation of energy. It goes back and forth. And where is the energy? It's in the space. And I remember when I read the autobiography of Einstein, very beautiful book. One of the last books that I don't read a lot of non-Vedantic books, but that was one of them that I did. And then I also saw some television programs about the space, the importance of space. It really dawned on me on what was happening. Like, for example, curved space. I had no idea what curved space meant. So the commentator pointed out an example. So he said was that suppose you have a pool table, pool table, and you roll the billiard ball on the pool table. Would it not go straight? It would go straight, right? It would go normally, it will just go straight. Now supposing you have a trampoline which can sag. It's not as solid as a billiard table, pool table. And supposing you take a bowling ball and you put it on the trampoline, what will happen is that the bowling ball will sit in the middle of the trampoline and let it sag, isn't it? Okay. Now if you put the pool table, the ball of the billiard ball on this trampoline, you know what is going to happen? It is going to go until it sees this indentation by this huge ball, and it's not going to go straight, it will turn and lose its velocity and then go into the ball and just stay there. Do you know this is exactly what is happening in the gravitational forces? Precisely. There are forces, gravitational forces, that bend the space in a manner that when another heavenly body comes in, and this is exactly how the earth moves around the sun, and the moon goes around the earth, all through the gravitational forces. And so this is all contained in the space. Sound is also contained in the space. So here's the point. The upadhi, see, this is where there is no duality. You see the thing? It looks like because we talk about the room space as being the same as total space. We all say that. Okay, I accept it, but there is a upadhi which is different than the space that makes it look like a room space. Isn't that a different thing? No. The upadhi also is nothing but a karya of the space. All the things are in space alone. This is why in the Taittiriya Upanishad says that from the space Vayu is born. From Vayu, Agni is born. From Agni, Apaha born. Apa from Prithvi is born. And the Prithvi is nothing but a solidified form, ultimately, of space alone. So it is kind of something like, supposing you have a bucket made out of ice, let's say, with a hollow inside, and you put it in the water, and there is water inside the ice bucket and there is water outside the ice bucket, and the ice bucket is also water, just solidified form of water, that's all it is. So there is in fact Advaita even in the case of upadhi, which is limiting the whole space. Nothing is not nothing. There is no dvaita. Everything is advaita. So here it says sabhabhya sabhapatibhyascha. So sabha is the pramata, the jiva who is looking at things, you and I. Shiva is also the pramata, and Shiva is also the upadana karanam as satyam jnanam anantam that makes us a pramata. So both pramata as well as the Shiv, as well as the Atma are nothing but Shiva alone. This is the interpretation that Swamiji made. Beautiful one. Sabhabhyas sabhapatibhyascha. Sabhapatibhyascha means the one that makes it happen. The Atma, the common, this is exactly what the problem is, that I don't recognize the Atma's presence, the Atma's contribution. Brahman's, when we say Atma means Brahman, Paramatma. Really the core of myself is nothing but Paramatma. And we think about Paramatma as something different than me. We look at the Vigraha and so on. And Dakshinamurti must be really wondering, this guy hasn't got it yet. He is just thinking of me as different and so on. He doesn't realize that I am him. So this is what is called, this is the aikyam between Jivatma and Paramatma. This is what the identity between the two are. That's what it means. So all these verses point to the Advaita Vedanta. So he says, Namas sabhabhyas sabhapatibhascha no vo namaha. Vaha means to you. Salutations, my namaha. Then the last one, number 17. Namo ashvebhyo ashvapatibhyascha vo namaha. And so the Adi Daivika view is, Ashva is a horse. Okay? The Adi Dhyatmika view is, Ashva represents, it's a symbol of karma indriyas. All karma indriyas are represented by a horse. Means that there is some action, there's some expression, some power to move, and so on. So here also he says, really speaking, all the karma indriyas are nothing but a form of Shiva alone, in the form of Maya Shakti, expressions. So this is how the Vyavahara takes place. So this is you can also look at the two arms of Shiva. Remember we looked at the Bahubhyam as being, what was it, Guru and Diksha, or the two arms. The two arms can also be looked at. This is where both are right. Both are right. It is not either or. There are different aspects of looking at it. The second aspect of looking at the two arms is Jnana and Kriya. Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. What a beautiful creation Ishvara has made. When you have a limited person, so there are really three Shaktis given to everyone. Every living being, it doesn't have to be human being. Every living being, the very expression of Shiva in the form of a living being means that three powers are given to this individual. It could be a spider, it could be an ant, it could be a squirrel, it could be a human being, doesn't matter. The type differs, but the sense is the same. The three of them are Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. And so Jnana Shakti means a conclusion. I know something is happening. I'm in danger. This is Jnana Shakti. And the very fact that you have an ant, that you approach the ant, it just stops. He says, oh, I'm in trouble. this guy might just kill me. And usually does. Usually does. So it's very valid in its assumption. Jnana Shakti. And then it has a Kriya Shakti. Should I move? Should I not move? Kriya Shakti. And Ichha Shakti, meaning that it wants to survive. There is a desire for survival, which is called the Ichha Shakti. And the desire to be different. I'm not okay the way I am, I want to be better. It's Ichha Shakti. So all three of them are really nothing but an expression of Shiva alone. This is how of Rudra alone. That really the karma indriyas are also nothing but Shiva alone. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, in the very short time, I'm just quickly going to go through Anuvaka 4. Anuvaka 3 is now complete. I think we can assume that it is done pretty much. But now we are looking at. This is a very interesting one. This Anuvaka talks about what's called the female powers of the universe. Female powers. And it goes through a lot of detail about the Devis and Devis who are very powerful. There's actually classification of Devis who are very active, very powerful, and so on, as well as the normal female person. Doesn't have to be a Devi, a normal female person who is the most important person in the world, really speaking, because the female is the one who has the power to generate a baby. The whole thing is based on the female power of keeping a baby in their tummy and then launching them. What an amazing creation. Incredible creation. And that's all is from the female power. And the female power here has different aspects to it. So, for example, it is important to attract the opposite sex. It is important to do that because until you attract, you cannot have sex together. And in order to bring out a baby, you need to have sex. And so really speaking here, I'm running out of time, I won't have time to do all of that. So here the Rudra is, so this is a very interesting thing to see. Ishvara has to give sexual power to all beings in order to propagate the species. It has to happen. So the sexual union is a very basic element of the creation of the world. So now what happens is, this is something which is given to all species. The only species that spoils it and misuses it is human beings. The rest of the species, animal species and so on, obey the power of Ishvara to just do propagation. Human beings can misuse it by force, by rapes, and all kinds of problems, the crimes of passion, and so on. And so really, and those are also part of the creation. The misuse is also part of the creation. But look at the the dilemma that Ishvara has. The dilemma is that he has to give the females and the males the power to attract each other and to create the continuation of this thing. But the same sexual thing can be done in a bad way. So this is the dilemma. And they just hope that human beings can really use it properly, not misuse it. If they misuse it, then there is a blot against them, and they'll have to pay for it. If they use it properly, it is in fact the right expression of Shiva. And so this is highlighted in great detail in this Anuvaka number 4. Okay? And this is one big part of it. Then, so there's several mantras that talk about all of this, and I think the descriptions by Swami Dayanandji on this is pretty good. I think that I would recommend that you just look at that. Then I think I will end in the next 5 minutes with this mantra, which is number 5, which says Namo Ganebhyo Ganapatibhyascha Vo Namaha. So Ganapati, and so here Ganapati of course has two, so Ganesha or Ganapati has two aspects that we should be aware of. So one of them, of course, there are two aspects. One of them is buddhi, wisdom. And the other one is removal of obstacles. And believe it or not, these two are related. Giving you buddhi and also keeping you away from obstacles are totally related. So for instance, if you are going on a road which has pebbles and so on and so forth, it is important to go slow and look at it. Otherwise you can fall down and hurt yourself. It becomes a obstruction. You can break your bones and so on. So when we do the Ganapati Homa, and when we really pray to Ganapati, what we are asking for is, can you please give me the wisdom that I don't hurt myself, I don't run into obstacles. Can you just protect me? And protect me because I am the one who is negotiating my life. And if I don't do it intelligently, I'll get into a lot of problems. So ultimately, even the puja for the Ganapati also is to enable you to negotiate your life intelligently. So both buddhi and the removal of obstacles is also is all done in that. Okay, then the other thing is the word Gana. Okay, the word Gana means, in modern terms, union. You have auto workers union. So, and then you have all these, what is that called, the coffee one? What is the? Starbucks. So Starbucks people are now making a union. Tesla people are going to make a union. So the union is also called Gana. And the person that makes the union effective is called Ganapati. So that's another way to look at And so there are so many unions. And so this one union is the human being is a union. We are part of this human being union. And so really the Ganapati is also nothing but the union, the head of the union who makes it work and also. Fairly good to look at. But I think generally speaking, I would say that the Ganapati represents a combination of buddhi and a protector and removal of... anyway, I'm running out of time. So I think that, and I'm sorry that it was in the middle of the fourth... I'll remember it and we will complete it. And then tomorrow morning we will go back to doing as much of what we were doing in the Vyakhya by Swami Maheshanandi. And so with that we'll be over. So with that I close the class. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om